So Carolina Hospital is a poet, prose writer, editor, and translator. Her works include the poetry collections Key West Nights and Other Aftershocks by Anhinga Press, and The Child of Exile, a poetry memoir published by Arte Publico Press, as well as Myth America and How to Get into Trouble, also Anhinga Press, both collaborative collections with Maureen Seaton, Holly Iglesias, who's here with us tonight, and Nicole Hospital Medina, plus the novel A Little Love under the pen name C.C. Medina by Warner Books. She also collaborated with South Florida writers on the New York Times bestselling novel, Naked Came the Manatee. Recently, she wrote the lyrics to the song cycle Greetings from Florida, Postcards from Paradise by composer and UF professor Scott Lee. Her newest poetry collection, All Roads Lead to Here, is forthcoming in 2026 from Anhinga Press, and she currently lives in Palm Coast, Florida. So Carolina, the stage is yours, and thank you so much for being here with us tonight.
Okay. So since you didn't mention, I guess I'll mention people that are not speaking should mute themselves, right?
Yes, thank you.
In case they cough or anything.
Yes.
So thank you for that wonderful introduction. Thank you, Judy, and everybody at SoFloPoJo for inviting us. And I am so happy to share this hour with Virgil. I thought he would go first, so I'm a little flustered, but here I go. And I've known him since the 80s when I did the Cuban American anthologies, Los Atrevidos, which means the daring ones. And you'll see that he's still an atrevido all these years later. So I'm looking forward to listening to Virgil. And then I want to thank especially all of you here listening to, taking up your time from the evening, from your dinner, whatever, to be with us tonight. So I'm so glad that we still do these Zoom readings that started during COVID so that we can continue to see people, especially in my case in Palm Coast, where, I would otherwise not see anybody, no poets and no reading. So I really do appreciate it. So I guess tonight, in trying to decide what to read, I decided I would do a medley of different poems from different works and projects, many of which Judy already mentioned. So I'll start with in chronological order, I guess, and I'll start with from Key West Nights. I picked two poems from that book. I should say the whole title, Key West Nights and Other Aftershocks. And this one kind of opens the journey to my family, well, my husband and I moving up to North Florida. This is before we had done it. It was just in the works. And I dedicated this poem to Tula and Juana. That's Tula Gertrude Gomez de Avellaneda, a Cuban poet who moved to Spain from Cuba, and Juana Borrero, a young poet who moved to Key West. And they were both influential in my work. So here we go. Florida Still, for Tula and Juana. Driven by wind stress, the current shadows the peninsula, like rafters and Ponce de Leon who rode it north, for they knew this river of sea was more powerful than the wind in their sails. Along these dunes of Florida shore, the stream always carries the island flotsam north. Another goodbye in the works, another poet packs again, propelled even further north. The sea sustains its force while the magic city fades. So be it. She will find anchor north in less warmer waters, among oaks and pines instead of palms, but still surrounded by infinite grains of sand and salt. And then from this book, I'm just going to read my favorite, thank you, Judy, my favorite poem, which is Gifts. And I think for two reasons. One, this month is my 49th anniversary. And also, we just came back from this amazing family vacation in North Dominican Republic, surrounded by turquoise waters. And you'll see why I say that. Gifts. I don't recall when we stopped buying them. We resist form and ribbons, roses withering into broken shards, chocolate dissolving into crevices, a bond watch, a golden bracelet, when what I really wanted to give you, what I want to give you now, is turquoise, cool white turquoise, waves of turquoise wrapped in sunlight, tenderness coated in dulce de leche, moonlight raised on osprey wings. I want to hand you hammock laughter that can weed out sirens, our daughter's smiles unhinging history's wrecks, dewdrop wetness, and a love that binds. Okay. So that first summer, I put together a chapbook of high buns. I'm sure all of you know, but just in case, a reminder that they're narrative prose followed by a haiku. And I've had trouble getting a press to take it on, but that's the nature of being a hybrid, right? It's more challenging. So I just picked two from there. This one's called Reclaimed. It takes decades for shattered bottles to wear down to sea glass, shards of broken scraps that roll and tumble until the sharp edges are smooth and rounded, like our lives. On Playas Pelada and Guiones, we collected large 3 to 5 inch burnished chunks of frosted aqua and white. Here, we saved chips of brown, green, turquoise, and even the rare blue. Every day we search for these random puzzle pieces, each fragment a shipwrecked mystery of color. Between the shell bits, baby shark tooth we carry like a firstborn's. And then the second one is erosion. Erosion, it is gradual. Along A1A, they try to stop the beaches from waning with new seawalls and dunes. It's a valiant effort, though some say it's only a delay. So much has eroded in one lifetime. On our own front lawn mound, the sides are slipping away. I plant orange blanket flowers to stop the earth from crumbling. I dig into the dead grass and find empty pockets beneath it. One by one, I insert the root balls, add soil, and set encircling stones. At least this I can control, I tell myself. The plants struggle at first, but slowly the slopes take on new hues. Orange wings flutter over blanket blooms rising, early light blushes. All right, so those are two of the high buns. Thank you. And the volume is good, right? You guys can hear me? Okay, thank you. So then I thought, of course, I have to read a couple from the second of our two collaborative chapbooks, How to Get Into Trouble from Anhinga, which I wrote with Nicole Hospital Medina, who I think arrived, and Holly Iglesias. And the cover, this beautiful cover, is a painting from Nicole, who's also an artist. So I chose two. The first one I chose simply because Anhinga nominated for a Pushcart Prize. So I thought, why not? Let's honor that poem for that reason. So this book has every few poems. It includes solo poems also under a collaborative theme. But these two that I'm reading are part of a sequence that are purely all collaborative. So all four of us wrote these together. This one's a little bit longer, then there's a shorter one. All right, this one is How to Make a Lover Out of Thin Air. Find a place where the air is thin. A mountain, a rooftop, a daydream, a Ferris wheel, a squirrel's nest, a deer. Breathe and pose. Pyramid, dolphin, corpse. Lovers appear when your heart is at peace. Toss your what I'd personally like in a lover list into the first wave of the day down the beach from Grumpy Gary's Bar and Grill. Throw in a ripe banana, sweet, reliable, and versatile, and some humor with 3 cups of kindness, smartness, and curiosity. Add a few spoonfuls of cocoa and protein, blend and pour. If not banana, try mango, papaya, or mamey. Ask for a guitar so you can learn, then watch him or her play it. Live in the smallest apartment among piles and piles of clothing. Mountains like a children's book, one lamp, one bong, chill music. Listen as the cars lift themselves off the street outside. Tattoo yourself into a frenzy. Do not think about the future, forbidden. Admire the marks through a blurry lens. It feels positive, but it's not. You could consider happiness. It's a forest in the Smokies, but you're on a beach. So bang two coconuts together, bang on the hood of a car, bang, 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 bam. Practice with clay like God. Fire the best figure in a kiln, glaze it celadon. Once you deem it perfect, dash it against a wall. Laugh as it shatters. Spend a year in a monk's cell like St. Kevin, waiting for the blackbird, though you, like St. Kevin, don't know it's a blackbird for which you wait. Extend your arm through the narrow window and pray it will perch there. That's how to make a lover out of thin air. Okay. And then the other one is for fun. And I know a lot of you, or if not all of you, most of you are poets. So I thought I'd read this one. How to dress like a poet. Include a hat with a brim so wide, everyone's awkward moments can comfortably sit on it. When performing, create an ensemble of black pants, shirts, shoes, with perchance a spot of color in the socks. Choose dangling earrings that don't match, preferably made of sea glass, like mine here. When zooming beyond a certain age, turtleneck, turtleneck, turtleneck. Wear a t-shirt that screams, recycle or die. Cartoon mouth, expansive and open. Adopt hippie style, suede, rust, aromatic. If you wear red, don't forget to think about the very last red bird. It was 1947. There were red birds everywhere. Cars were scarce and slow. When composing, compost in a metaphorical bathrobe. Wear that blouse that makes you feel alive. Beware of clearance racks at the back of the store. Sport Fire Island style, surfer shorts, and aloha shirts. Emulate Anne Sexton, Anne Wallman, Anne Bradstreet. Never carry a purse. So thanks. So that's a great chapbook. I love that chapbook. And I still think about Maureen every time I read one of those, Miss Her Like Crazy. So anyway, all right. So I'm very excited to share with you. The next two are from this project that Judy mentioned. So a couple years ago, Professor Scott Lee is a music professor from the University of Florida, reached out to me, and he basically asked me to write poems that he could turn into lyrics. It was a commission, and I said, sure, why not? And his project was, he was going to use it, which he has done since then, turn it into a song cycle on a theme, which will be coming out as a CD. And I've heard all the compositions. I was even at the studio when they performed it. It's amazingly beautiful, the songs that they wrote. And it'll be coming out probably. They almost got to deal with the label, but it's all recorded and it's coming out in January or February of this coming year. And the title of the song cycle, the title of the CD is going to be Greetings from Florida, Postcards from Paradise. And as you can imagine, there's some irony in that. So I'm just going to read two that I thought were that lend themselves the most to read in a Zoom setting. All right. This first one is my favorite. The Loss of the Blues. A Florida scrub jay flies never more than a mile from its birthplace. Small and isolated, disconnected, flying high, flying low on islands between cities. So blue its head, so blue its nape, so blue its wings, so blue its tail, so blue. For hundreds of years it flies between pines and palms. It buries winter-feeding acorns by the hundreds just beneath the surface. Just beneath the surface, it drops seeds, spreading sweet home, rare oak scrub on ancient sandy ridges. So blue its head, so blue its nape, so blue its wings, so blue its tail, so blue. At the top of a tree snag it perches, blue against a clear blue sky, surveying the flat woods, the farmland at its edge, the blacktop crossing the creek, the sprouting treeless houses. Among the babble and the banging, no one hears the blues out singing. No one sees the blues out flying. It finds its mate to breed and its young ones stay to nest, to nurture, never more than a mile from its birthplace. So blue its head, so blue its nape, so blue its wings, so blue its tail, so blue. And as you can imagine, it's a very bluesy song that accompanies this with a guitar. It's a beautiful song. So this one actually, it's called Big Waters, and it really revolves around Miami and Florida history. And it's about, of course, the rising waters. Big waters. Big waters rising, lowlands drink up. I am high ground, where you swallow the sky, where you bury the song of the Tequesta, circles across the river waters, sea wolves and sailfish hunters, where you feel the pounding of the blessing, arms beneath the rock ridges, pioneers following the tracks. Big waters rising, lowlands drink up. I am high ground, where sweat drips black on limestone, doors above the floods, moon shackling the tides, where you climb above the throng, canals carved out of silver, swamps drained for gold. Big waters rising, lowlands drink up. I am high ground, where you look on a lowland of squares, a perfect grid of flashing lights, blind windows scraping the cloud, where the solitary slash pine bends, the sound of hollow breeze, wandering bees and cats. Big waters rising, lowlands drink up. I am desired high ground again, where you till the barrios to plant concrete, where you swallow the sky again. Big waters rising, lowlands drink up. So that's just a taste. Thank you. You guys are sweet. All right, so just a few more. These next three are from the manuscript that will soon, hopefully in April, be a book by Nhinga. It's called All Roads Lead to Here. I almost said seven because there's a poem that's called that, but it's All Roads Lead to Here. And this one has this poem I'm going to read. The first one has an epigraph by Barbara Rass, a poem called Potatoes. And the epigraph is, who wouldn't want to bottle their color so alluringly beyond blue you want to name it hope? So my poem is called Crossroads and Borders. The ocean is a giant bottle of color. I was born on an island surrounded by spectacular shades of hope, uprooted by those who cannot distinguish indigo from black. Fire emerges red above orange, above yellow. Yellow unfolds into sun, and sun sets into moon. We depart the city for a house by the sea, beneath a wet moon. A mother with her 6-year-old child asked the reporter on the streets of Kiev, where should we go? Where is safe? The apartment? The subway tunnel? The countryside? Poland? Her voice exhales sunflowers. 60 years ago, our mother yanked us out of this island flanked by blues and flew us into purple. How many bottles must spill until we empty of colors? And this one kind of in that similar tone, I guess. It's called After a Short-Lived Childhood. Lately, I've been thinking about the days when I was most isleña. They slide off my palms into the waves. You say everything we have done since we first married led to this house by the sea. Our Sanibel honeymoon many years ago and all the return trips. The copper bamboo fountain hauled from the Keys, the four-post bed with mosquitero, our visits to Elbow Cay, DR, and Costa Rica, the shell collections, the Buddhist Bell, the college house on Mossy Oaks, Lake Santa Fe, at the same latitude. Here, we make the mojitos under the maple tree, listening to Willie and Celia. Is this homeland? Not the mythical, to me, Caribbean island of my birth? Grandfather was Catalan, and I danced flamenco and played castanets growing up. So is that peninsula patria? From one lifetime to another, where do we leave behind God's country? Is the quest the journey or purpose? Do we forage the past or its future? Or does the chase end at the sea? Thanks. And then this is the poem that ends the book, All Road Leads to Here. And it has an epigraph from one of my favorite, excluding everybody here, one of my favorite poets, Lee Young Lee. And it says, no one will save him who's never loved. Taking turns. Hold my hand, you say without words. I reach for your joy and tremble. You are a mirror in my pocket. What if it breaks into shards? Will it reflect in broken pieces? Turn towards me, you say with your body. I try to memorize the steps. You use words to pull me closer and a hand on my waist to lead. What if I'm called to steer alone? Listen to the stories you say, sorting photographs, old lovers leaning on a skiff. I do, but they only exist in memories. We are the story now, you say, like the bamboo shoot battered by surge and freeze, still sprouting green. We use few words in the light, and even less in the dark. Your exhale is my inhale. Two cardinals fly into the trees, and my chest opens up slowly, reminds me to take in the colors. There is still time for more stories until the sun sets. All right, and then I'll finish with two short ones. And these are from my new, you know how it is. You're waiting for one book to finish and you're starting another one. So this is a new one, which I hope will contain all the poems from the project that we're turning to lyrics, which are all Florida based. And so the rest, I've kind of been surrounding them with other poems, also Florida based. So that's what I'm finishing up on, that new manuscript. So there's just two short ones and I'll end. So this one's called Goliath at Rest Note. Two girls follow the tidal pools, chasing schools of darting fish and combing for crabs and snails. Amid a wide, empty expanse of sand, they run across Goliath, manatee-sized dotted gray grouper, lifeless, anchored on the dry bed. Eyes bulging large, mouth agape, coarse and weary from heft or age, hardly appealing except for its size. Next morning, it has disappeared, forgotten except for pixel photos. Days later, tracking the shoreline to the park's wave-sculpted rocks, a sudden stench announces itself among the holes and the cracks. The jammed carcass, picked clean, bears a sad yet familiar melody from its vertebrae spines and fins, like the metal bars of a kalimba. The two girls hum, skipping rocks. And then the final poem brings us back to this journey, right? My journey, my ongoing journey from Cuba to Jamaica, Puerto Rico, Miami, now North Florida. So, and to me, it's a journey to the sea, right? So that's kind of my theme. But anyway, that's another story. So this last poem is called Journey's Gratitude. Every move takes us farther away from patria, yet nearer to source. Crossover from there to La Florida. On our block, no one speaks the native tongue. Rock and roll rings from Friday grills or garage bands. But the sea waves and the hummingbirds make song without accents or vocabulary. And sand on my skin feels familiar and grounding, like for the loggerhead returning to hatch her eggs to leave it all behind again. Loss is the same for most of us who cross from other places to make amends or renew away our memory. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Carolina. Beautiful, beautiful work. And I
Thank you.
think the voices that have come from other places and are now just woven into the fabric of our country are so much, they've always been important, but they're more important than ever now. And I just appreciate all the publishing you've done and all the things you've gotten out there and the collaborations, which we'll probably ask you about when we get to the question and answer session.
For sure, of course.
Yeah, and the hybrid work, which is so exciting. It's really fun. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.